Ladies and gentlemen, please. Good evening, everyone. And what's going on? Good afternoon, good evening, good night. Good morning for those that's morning, good evening for those that's evening, good afternoon for those that's afternoon. It is a wonderfully rainy Knoxville day here in rainy Knoxville, Tennessee. And looks like we've got channel members Don, Andre, Amy, Gary, Mad, John, Ted, Andrew. Good to see you. Tara, Ivan. And we've got CPI this week coming out tomorrow morning before the open. We've got PPI coming out Thursday before the open. And we have retail sales coming out on Friday before the open. We had Jerome Powell testifying today, not really saying jack squat, denying that he ever started any kind of anything in a CBDC with the Senate Banking Committee. I don't know. Well, it's a non-government organization, not really part of the government, so I don't know. You tell me. Powell will be testifying again tomorrow from the House, whatever Finance Committee. It's not the banking, it's like the House Finance Committee, I guess. And I don't know, more of the same, probably just grilling him, but him not admitting anything, of course. Now, he did say today that he expected to have to hold rates higher longer than anybody expects because inflation is kind of sticky. And, well, we're going to get that CPI read in the morning. So that may, in fact, support what Powell said today and may again say tomorrow. So, I don't know. There's people on X calling for Doge to audit the Fed, but the Fed's not part of the government, so do they really have any authority over that? I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. The Federal Reserve, they manage the money, but they're not part of the government. Yeah, it's kind of weird, right? And yeah. Anyway, so CPI, PPI, that'll be the inflation read. Retail sales, how did we do coming out of the winter holiday season? Are we still rocking and rolling this year, or are things looking kind of grim? We're going to get that first read on Friday, right there. And then we'll do 30 minutes of your requests as always. So without further ado, I'll go through a few things in the market and hit the highlights, and then we can do your requests. All right, so all trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Past performance, not necessarily indicative of future results. That means I make predictions. Things I've said and done in the past that have worked may never work again. I may never predict another correct thing in the market ever again. That would kind of suck because that's what I do, but that's the matter of fact behind all of this. This presentation is intended to be informational, educational, fun, entertaining, not a recommendation to be buying or selling any financial instruments out there. So no stocks, options, bonds, forex, futures, cryptos, treasuries. Don't long them, don't short them, don't trade them, don't trade bonds either. And if you desire personal financial advice, you got to hire and consult a financial advisor. It's not what I'm doing. I'm not even pretending to tell you what to do to make money. All right. I've gotten lucky in the past. I've made quite a bit of money in the market. You might be able to do what I do, but you might not. Just the cold, hard reality. It takes a lot of patience, a lot of discipline, a lot of self-control when you do this thing we call trading. And there's a substantial risk of loss. You might make a bad decision and take a substantial risk of loss right there. All right. Be careful out there. Nobody's interested in saving your money more than you. If you think they are, they're really just trying to take some of your money and make it into some of their money one way or another, whether that be the government or your plumber or the financial advisor, even me, one way or another. If you don't trust me, don't buy anything from me. At some point in time, if you buy something from me, so choose to support me, I'm going to make some of your money into some of my money. All right? Just being straight up honest with everybody. Scout's honor. What a day, what a day. Couldn't break out higher, couldn't break down lower. Did a bunch of nothing. That's what I would say. Stayed in the box all day. Tried to push out back here on Friday. Tried to break out on Sunday when we reopened. And right back in the box for 2 days now. It's kind of hanging. Now, I drew this level this morning and said if we break above that, we're probably going higher. But we poked above it. We did not break above it. Key difference here. Pokes don't really count. When we poke above like this and then immediately reject it right back down, then a following candle, that's a poke, not a break. All right. Frustrating, to say the least, that we poked up there and slammed it right back below that level. The level wasn't even up on the tippity top anyway. That leaves the indecision. And with the way everything kind of closed the day, I'm concerned. CPI comes in spicy tomorrow, and we get that as the result. I'm just kind of concerned. That's what we're going to see right there. Big down right off of CPI. Anybody got a different thought? I mean, that's kind of what we set up here the last few days. Last few weeks, really. I mean, look at lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. This is not looking particularly bullish. I think we could easily see one of these, if not something further down. I just kind of stayed neutral today. Didn't really do much of anything. I'm not really frozen. It's just, when you zoom out and look at this baby, we haven't done jack squat for like 3 months in the S&P here. We just kind of zoom up and look here. Kind of roll back. It's like you look, take this arrow tool and you go, well, from here, back over here. And that was November. Right in there, December. So January, February. And if you go back over here, I mean, like we were down there just yesterday. Right? Go back over there. Well, it takes us all the way back to beginning of November. December, January, February. That's 3 months of sideways. Golly. What do you do with that? I mean, it's like you sell premium, you can sell some income, I guess, but only if you do it the right places in the market. Some stuff in the market has just been rough as could be trying to make any kind of money. We've seen Meta outperforming Tesla since January 14th. Just amazing things have been happening in the market, and it's just concentration, just narrower and narrower concentration of participants. Makes it difficult. This is also interesting. The ES, which is the S&P 500, closed basically flat, 3 points. I mean, 3 points is nothing these days. When you're at 6,000 points, 6,100 on the index, 3 points is nothing. NQ at 21,000 ended up a little red, but 50 points down is, again, almost nothing when we're talking 21, almost 22,000 points. Indecision. Yet again, we did not break higher than yesterday on Nasdaq. Stayed inside yesterday's range. It was in the upper end of the range, but it was still inside yesterday's range. Russell stayed inside the upper end of yesterday's range. Right there is the range, and this is the upper end right here. Indecision. Indecision across all three indexes. Not great, all right? That's kind of winding us up for a big reaction on one of these numbers later this week. That's what it's kind of like. It's the setup, right? And when we look at this setup on the ES chart, it doesn't look great. Like this set of lower highs doesn't make me feel good. It just doesn't. Like I didn't sell everything. I didn't get super short. I just added some protection. I'm like, I'm still biased long slightly. I'm kind of down to, I was pretty optimistic there last week, but this week I've kind of dropped off as we made the third lower high and rejected down. kind of eased back off to about 55, 45. 55 higher, 45 lower. Just it's uncertain. Uncertain. This is a real muddy, messy price action right here, and it's just not clear on what we're going to do. I did like that break above and that retest, and then we got a lower high and another retest, and then we got another lower high, and we didn't do a third retest. That just like question mark to the downside, question mark to the upper side. We haven't been able to break higher. We haven't been able to break lower. The market's not being very clear. Now, one of the interesting, I was going to talk about this in the morning, but I'll go ahead and pull this up right now. There is an interesting little tidbit here. There is. And this might be suggestive of what we're seeing the problem here. Pop this open, pull this over. Check this out. This is the open interest on VIX calls, call put ratio, open interest. Look at this. When the call, when you have almost a 4-to-1 call to put ratio, what do you think traders are betting on? What do you think is keeping us from flushing? Too many people expect a big flush. Too many traders stand to make money. If we were going to flush, here was a more appropriate time to do it. Although you see what happened back here. Yeah, look. July, remember the August flush out? Barely a blip, even though we made a huge move in VIX. Traders were caught with their pants down, basically. No protection. And then it plummeted right back off. So back here in August, when we did that plunge, right there, the market was kind of caught, not expecting it. That's what happened right here. We're up to 60. Now, with the current put call ratio up here, there's no way that VIX is going to ramp up to 60 again. They're just not going to let that much money go out of the market. Too much at stake. So this is why it seems like indecision, right? It's like unclear. Like things aren't, there's no easy path. We can't just do a fast flush and because too many people make money on a flush. So it's just a grind at this moment. It's frustration. It's kind of the way it all works. You see on VIX here too. Lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. Hasn't reset back into the 13 area where we've found a relative bottom lately. It's been hanging right here at 16. Long term, 20 has been the, if you look at it long duration, 20 is kind of the resting point. But in modern times, dips well down into the, $10, $12 area on VIX is where we get to. Right now we're hanging at 16, so there's still plenty of VIX that can bleed off. They say VIX is derived from the put-call ratio on the S&P 500 at the 1 month out, whatever. And with all the volume going into 0 days, how accurate is VIX these days? I don't know. There's not really a volatility product that represents the 1 day volatility. At least not that I'm aware of that's widely recognized. So all these interesting pieces, right? When you kind of look at it, combine all the things together, try to get the whole picture. Now, oil trying its darndest. We may see this push on through tomorrow, right up and closing right at the top of the roadmap line. If we get continuation up, I would expect it to come on up Test the 618, which is not quite in the right spot. We need to pull that down just a little bit. Should be right there. Back at 76, 75-ish. 76.80. We get above that, probably go cruising on up to around 82. So next resistance, right in that vicinity. And then the one above that is the target. If we can get through that resistance level, probably high probability we get right on up there. That could go fast, it could go slow, it could pop up here, get a retrace, and then break through, and then retrace, but then go on up. I don't know. The exact pathway, unclear until we start getting there. The levels, easy. Time frame and the exact path, much more difficult. I have to watch the twists and turns as we get there. All right. Brent, kind of the same picture. Actually closing slightly above. I like it. Let's get her out, get her going here. Let's get some more upside going. Got that 618 resistance coming up here at 75.30 or 79.30, excuse me. 79.30. And then this one 83.84 on the upside potential for the continuation. So not a lot of, may not have a lot of slowdown there. Could go on either path there. Gasolina, definitely looking a little more bullish here. Let's clean this up at this point. This one's looking a little more spicy. Now, we already had a bounce here and a retrace. So this makes this a little more, you know, is that the 1-2 and we're about to rip off in a 3? If so, this might get a little spicier to the upside. We could see something up in the 225 area, possibly even 230 area. This will be really rough on inflation numbers if we do this. We start popping up, getting continuation up here, maybe even outperforming, bounce, going up here. It's going to be really rough on Trump's "we're going to control the price of oil and gas" narrative. You know, you can say they manipulate the market, whatever you want, but there's so much money in this thing, it is virtually impossible. And right now we're in an uptrend too. It's a cyclical yearly cycle, right? We tend to go up into this, spring months, and then we drift off into those fall months, and then we go up into those spring months, down into those fall months, over and over and over. Now, long term, decreased demand in oil, we expect prices to go down. It's kind of the way we've got them priced out in the 2028. That's why they call it futures, all right? Price the future. Heating oil, on the other hand, looking a bit more bullish, bounced off the roadmap line, already set to go higher. This one could rock and roll. We already have a potential 1-2, 1-2. This might get an explosive move higher. Next potential move could take us up into the $3 area. I know those of you that drive diesels, not too happy to hear this number. Goose, if you're listening. Wronger, if you're listening. We could see that kind of price up here. It's definitely kind of what it's looking like. 1-2, 1-2, 3, 4. That could go way on up there. That's going to affect the price of everything if it does. So I'd watch for a breakout above 260. Probably sets the stage for a rally on up to that 295 to 312 area. Right up in there. If we make it up to 312 before we pull back, this thing's probably going much higher. Possibly on up to maybe like $4. That'd be rough. Natural gas, doing a little retrace. I expect it to hold the 618 area right up in here, around 384, 383, 384, possibly up to 395-ish. expect that zone right in there to hold. Then probably turn down. This is just like the others. We usually see a spike right there in the winter, the early winter months, and then we get a drop into the April-May timeframe. So guess what's coming up? April-May timeframe. We typically price the lows April-May. We typically price the highs in the late fall, November, December. Coming up, April-May. What does that usually mean? Potential for it to come down into the low area. All right. It's just a cyclical yearly pattern on natural gas. You can go back there and look at it. We typically make a trough, a low point somewhere in April-May. Now, that could be it right there, but it also might not be done yet, since that's already made a big down, a retrace, holding under support, could bust through. Holding under resistance could bust through that support and move on lower. Get my words out in the right order. Gold. This is a curious thing right here. The story is not evident on the daily candle. You have to look down at a smaller time frame here. This thing, yesterday I was a little early bailing. Maybe I should have bailed today, but yesterday I bailed. And we did this overnight, and then right back down. Came up a little bit and just kind of parked it right on that 15-minute roadmap line into the close today. As long as we're underneath this 618 level right here, this is an initial move down and a retrace. We may do a three-wave up into that 2944 area, 2950 area, and then get a continuation lower. I would be very careful. Very careful. Silver is more bearish. This has already been bearish. It's already rejected going higher. And, well, I don't know. We're going to have to get above this high to go higher. We turned down there, started to move down. It's kind of like a retrace. Do we get continuation on down? That 26, 27 area, still where I expected support. We came up shy of that over here. I was like, hey, we could get a breakout, but we may end up just coming down and retesting it further over here somewhere. Be a bummer. But, that's what it looks like. Gold looks like it wants to retrace. Silver looks like it wants to retrace. So we just got to wait for the setup. I lightened up the load big time. Copper popped back up. That's a three-wave move. That's a three-wave corrective type thing. So far, very proportional. That move, that move, that move. Very classically, correctively proportional. It's very sideways and overlapping. This low, overlapping all this stuff. This high, under, basically it's all inside the range of that move, right? From that low to that high, right there, it's all inside. Hasn't been able to do anything. Just a inside consolidation so far. Lower high, higher low. That can result in a big flush. We've already talked about this in the past. If you're new here, we've talked about it quite a few times. That move right over there went pretty fast from May of 22 right down here to July 22. So like 2 months. Flushed it out. Right there, could flush us right out near a lower low. It's kind of what I expect to happen. Nice quick flush, get something lower than this low that we had back in July 22. If we do that, copper can be done and we can move on. All the narratives being sown out there about nuclear power and this and that, copper demand and blah, blah, blah. This chart is not showing giant copper demand. This chart is showing China is struggling, and China is one of the biggest users and buyers of copper. Nowhere for almost 4 years. That's not exactly bullish. Be careful believing narratives that you see sown around here about super cycles on copper and this, that, and the other. Go look at the chart. Lots of the other industrial metals charts look pretty rough too. Platinum looks pretty rough. Used in a lot of catalysts, not real great. Palladium, also not looking so hot. Really beat down. Just not looking super awesome. So you got to be careful chasing those narratives that, oh, we're going to use all these precious metals. Don't look so hot. All right. I hit some Bitcoin, and then we can go on to your requests, as always. And Bitcoin really took the move back from yesterday, but we're still sitting right on the same dang level. Look at that. How many days can we do this? One day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. That's an entire week of doing absolutely nothing on Bitcoin. Just wiggling around, but not going anywhere. Not going anywhere. Tell you what. I'm concerned that if we get a big flush on CPI, this is going right down here to the roadmap line. Risk off asset. This is the most risk on, risk off asset I know of. If the market goes risk off, CPI comes in hot, we're going to see this flush down here more than likely. All right. Just this is what I see. Then Ethereum, not being very bullish. We're not even close to the breakout level on that downtrend of highs. We're down near the lows, and this looks like this may be setting up for, that'd be a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and we get one more flush. So we've already, this wave right here, drawing tool, this wave right here ended with a tail right there. This wave right here ended with a nice long tail. Both those ended with a tail. I would expect this to end with a tail right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We get that next tail, break above that downtrend of highs, and we can go looking for higher highs. Otherwise, if we start breaking down below, this is the flip side. Like if we start breaking down below 2,000, don't just spike it and reverse it. We could end up down here in the triple digits, back around 700, 800. Big first move down, move up to a lower high, continuation down in here. That's going to be rough. It's potential though. Potential on the chart. When you zoom out, look at it. All right, so we're at the point where I'll take requests. Channel members, your name is in green or you have the little stars next to your name, you get priority requests. I'll take all the channel member requests and then I'll come back, circle back and hit everybody else. Please type in all capital letters, use a full ticker. If you got a question about the ticker, please use complete sentences and ask your full question. I will do my best to answer and catch up to you. One request per person per request. Wait for somebody else, preferably 2 people to go before you make another request. If you just throw out a bunch of tickers in one thing, I'm going to skip it and maybe come back to it later. All right, I'll go until I catch up and or I get tired. I've been feeling a little under the weather yesterday and today, so I'll try to keep going. If we drop below about, say, 60 people on the stream, I may go ahead and wrap it up quickly. So I'll do my best here to try to stay on track. All right, Shopify is the first one I see from a channel member. And man, just sit up here. Next upside potential 140, 150, and the all-time high. So I would sit at this level here off that pullback and that extension. Very potential, very possible potential, very real possibility. Say it the right way, JT. We may come back to the roadmap line. Just very real possibility. ZN1 exclamation points. That is under the roadmap line. Under the roadmap line. Under the roadmap line. Very real possibility that goes down yet again. 10-year note. And we have been holding this pretty well here so far for pretty much a year. It gives it a little bit of uncertainty though, that we might do another, maybe the real wild thing if they did this, right? And then broke down lower. Of course, flip that upside down is that a head and shoulders that's already in place upside down. I don't know. Could be. It could be that we already have, you know, shoulder, head. Although that shoulder looks a little bigger, right? Don't usually get the biggest one over there, so I don't know. Be a heck of a move. As long as we're holding higher than this low. Okay. But we're below, so it's like pros and cons. Under the roadmap line. Con. Higher low. Pro. Higher low. Pro. Higher low. Pro. So if we break down below that, that's indicative we're going down lower though. If we break above the roadmap line, I would watch for the 618. Resistance, probably right in this zone. Right in there. Break up and then complete that head and shoulders and we could go down pretty violently. All right, that's ZN. Meta. Keeps grinding those targets. We have that next level up there at 760. Been on the chart for a while. We could go all the way up to crazy levels. Crazy levels. Kind of took all these other levels off because it just doesn't make a lot of sense, but a little bit of confluence right in here. And a little bit of confluence right in here. And then that big giant target on up there. That's meta for you. Tesla probably going up for the daily roadmap line. I mean, if we don't hit it now, what's going on? Come all this way. Come all this way. Gotta hit it. All this way. There's the target. Then what happens? Bounce, probably. BA. Yeah, we're just floating, hanging, and chilling with my homies. That was an initial move up. A retrace. Didn't quite hit the roadmap line. Another move up. Retrace. And we're just probably going to grind it higher for the next while. It's probably... This did all the things I expected it to do, except break out the new highs. Looking for it to embark on the journey on up. Potentially as high as like 500 or 600. I mean, we could go way on up here. This already did first move up, the retrace, held the perfect area. We've done the initial move up and a retrace, and now it's just going to be a long-term. This could go out here well into the 2030s. So I'm not going to have a lot of twists and turns for Boeing for a while, probably. It's just on the way. It's going to be a long-term. That's going to be a long game. Literally a long game. Not just, you know, go long, but it's going to be a wait. Don't expect it to just go ripping at this point. It took it a while to retrace. Apple. Sitting here. It's kind of like Bitcoin, except it's Apple. And it's, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in this little tight range. Doing nothing after earnings. what would you expect it to do? If I hid everything else on this chart and just showed you that right there, what would you expect this to do? Kind of expect it to keep doing that, right? Keep going. Now, if we break down below the lows of any of these, we'll probably go, below that low. Right there at 225, we'll probably go down. Break above. We're going to have to get above that candle right back there. We spiked up and rejected. We're going to have to get above that. Shoot up there to get the continuation up there. It's that 265 area. Now, this is set up the bounce, but it has not confirmed the entry. It did not trigger any type of conservative entry. That was not a candle close above. That was a candle open above, but we closed it down here. So it did not close above the 618 entry point. Very, very nuanced point here. That was the high. That was the low. That was the move up. We did not close the day above the 618. That is not an entry. We've been sitting right on the roadmap line. Now you can buy aggressively here, hoping that we pop. Hope is not a great trading strategy. Target is up there if we activate that 618 level at 244. Yeah. Like I said, lots of not clear. NBIX is biotech, pharmaceutical stuff, and fell out of bed. Probably going to make a lower low somewhere down here in the 100 area, 105. And oh, I skipped the chat. I love when I do that. Let's see if I can roll back up where I was. And MTSI. Back down to the roadmap line. Could we bounce? And possibly. I think all the things I said last week are still in play. We've got a gap down. And that don't matter no more. So, didn't trigger the entry. It's almost like all the things I just said about Apple. No, it's kind of same there. Already did Meta. Pets. Open. Cool. There we go. Well, that looks like a nasty continuation lower. Under $1 or right at $1. Typically stuff under $10 doesn't always follow the patterns, low price stuff, so doesn't always work. This one looks like it kind of worked. And then we went lower. How low can she go? She can go to 0. Got this low from back here in 2022, and it looks like we're going to go retest that low. That's what it looks like to me. I wouldn't expect this to turn around for any particular reason. Low down is the trend. Going to 0. PLTR still has we're still sitting in the target zone. Right there. Spiked up just a little bit above it even. Volatility. Next level up right there, 123-ish. At this point, we're just grasping straws. Like, how high is it going to go? Not sure. Yep. Possibly it could go up to 170. I don't see a good reason for it to do that right now. If this thing starts doing the choppy thing, be careful. It can lead to a deep retrace. Remember, the numbers on this don't really make any kind of logical sense whatsoever. Things can defy logic for a long time, but the price to sales is ramped up to 66. The PE is 400. This is a little bit nuts. They just don't make that much money to justify. That's 66 years of all of their sales going into the price to justify the price they're currently at. 66 years. The company hadn't even been around that long. Be careful. They've been around 22 years. MU. Still sitting in the range. There's the resistance, there's the support, and we're just sitting in the middle, doing nothing. Nothing at all. XYZ's now square. Block, whatever you want to call it, is probably going for the roadmap line. DPZ. Still in a sideways chop. I did have a short on this, but I lightened it up on that last drop. Now, looking at this big picture, that move down, that retrace to a lower high, that drop right there would be what I would expect this to do. Initial move down, retrace to a 618. As long as we're kind of holding below this zone right here, probably going to get continuation lower. Just what it looks like. That was 3 waves up. 1, 2, 3. Even though the third was a little extra, still lower high than we had back here in 2021. First move down. Right there. Retrace. Second move down. Somewhere down in that zone. That's what I expect on dominoes. Zoom, 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 zoom. There you go. Same sort of pattern on Zoom is what I expect. Unless we can break out of this. That's what I expect right now. And Microsoft. That was the uptrend of lows. We push below it. This may flush down here. Very real possibility. We get about a $50 flush on Microsoft. AA. That is under the roadmap line. And it's been sideways for a good long time. Check it out. What kind of makes you think that's going anywhere? Look how long this has been. Been stuck in that vicinity almost for 20 years. Sometimes we go a little higher, sometimes we go a little lower. This is a big range, but still stuck in that vicinity for 20 years. Not really the biggest mover. Chopper, it chops, but it's not really a big mover. All right. Who better? Hit the wrong button. Come on. Go. And let's see what we got here. Right up to the top of the gap down. We see the gap down right there. Did gap down up there too. So it's got a couple gaps, a little bit of resistance at those gaps. Little gap there, little gap there. We're gonna have to beat all those gaps to go higher. Without really paying attention to the gaps, I'd say upward bias to 92. But with the flatness of this, the way it's just kind of been chopping in this zone, I'm not sure if we can make a higher high there. It's going to take energy that I'm not sure that Uber has. It seems to prefer this chopping in this like $20 range here. It's OP. I'm hitting all the channel member requests first. I do appreciate the channel members. It's a way to give back to them for putting their support in me here on YouTube. I do this YouTube thing on my own time, in my family's time. This is not something that, you know, basically channel supporters are the only people really supporting me in doing this. So, all right. XOP, just kind of in this choppiness here. That's where it's been at rest for a number of years, like 3 years. So why expect it to do anything else? Could it get a wild hair and do something? Sure. But that's kind of what it's been chopping in here for 3 years, and it might just keep doing that. Doesn't have to do anything. There's, you know, when price starts telling you it's going to break out, that's when you can take action. But, you know, right now, I don't see a giant opportunity. AT&T potential breaking out of this downward kind of channel trend thing. Kind of been in for a while. Just a rough. I don't remember what I had drawn here when I drew this. Probably something more like that. I don't know. This doesn't look great on that. Zoom it out some more. Weekly charts. So this finally could be done on the downside here. It moved down. It went sideways for a long time. Rejected that area there. Came down again. This might be done. If we could pop back above these highs right here. Pop back up through there. We could potentially go up here. I'd kind of want to see it bounce down off the roadmap line and then turn higher to give me higher confidence. It might actually go make a higher high for the first time in almost 30 years. Golly. It's not been a very, I mean, even though it's a fair range, that's not been a very big mover for, I mean, just look at that. Look at that right there. Like, 96. Yeah. Not exactly one I would say, whoo, baby, there's opportunity. That's what I smell is opportunity. Coinbase. Let's see. Probably going to hit the roadmap line. That's probably what it's going to do. Doesn't have far to go now. Missed it over here, so why not get it now and possibly push down even lower. Could come down, do that, get a lower low. Perfect. Perfect. That's probably what coin's going to do, and all the crypto stuff. Coal is not a ticker. DOGE. I think you're probably looking for Doge USD. Is in a downtrend and probably going to go lower. Resistance right there. And CBOE is potentially going to make a lower low. First move down, retrace, holding that 618 area. Next move down. If it's the same size as the first move down, put this right in there. It goes something like this. You go copy, paste. Right over here like that. That's how you get there. T-Mobile is rocking and rolling. That Super Bowl ad announcing Starlink. I think people knew that was what's happening. Possible to come on up to 275. I'd watch out for retrace though. This is already played out. Already at the target. Already played. I've been talking about it since back here when we broke out. It's been rocking and rolling. Yeah. All right. And we're down to the bottom. So I think I already talked about silver. Right there. That's it. I mean, potential to come on down to the 26, 27 area. I already talked about it. And so that was the end of the, I caught up with the bottom of the channel members. So Now you'll just be regular and you'll be at the end. So back to the top and catch everybody that is still here, hopefully. If you waited, thanks for waiting. If you want to be earlier in the list next time, consider being a channel member. Reasonable rates. Sezzle, potential to break above that 618 level and go higher, but if we don't, we could go lower. First move down, something like that. Control C, Control V, copy, paste. Right off of that resistance. There's the resistance, pretty strong. At that 618 level. And potential for it to come down here around 154. EXAS is kind of in a downtrend. Lower highs, under the roadmap line. I can't tell when this is going to be done correcting. This is medical specialty stuff, biotech. That's not my favorite industry. It likes to do crazy stuff like giant drops that don't make any sense. And, anything the Food and Drug Administration of the United States gets involved in, the government, makes it incredibly difficult to predict where it's going. So that's EXAS for you. UVXY is unchartable. VIX would be the underlying. And UVXY is just a decaying asset. So VIX keeps bouncing. There's potential for UVXY to bounce a little bit with VIX, but as long as the put call ratio is elevated on VIX, I don't expect that to happen. Please see the chart I shared earlier. What do I mean by UVXY being a decaying asset? Check this out right here. Look at the weekly chart. This is always going towards zero. It's always going to go towards zero. It's always going to keep going towards zero. Reverse splits. It's a giant dumpster fire of decaying asset. Limited short-term opportunities and a big downward trend. Other short charts that are like that, like UNG, similar. Yen, similar. This keeps going down, keeps going down, keeps going down. So anyway, UPS, moving on. They cannot get out of their way. Their largest customer gonna quit doing business with them, basically. Rolled out their own delivery service, so potentially keep on going down. Could have a bottom here. I mean, it's possible. Here's the upside resistance and the downtrend highs above that. Not looking great for UPS though. Not as low as it was in COVID, but not looking great. Not looking great. All right, moving on. Hershey's also not looking great. Potentially found a bottom. And they've been fighting off a buyout from Nestle's, I guess. Potentially that was the bottom. Maybe. Possibly. Maybe. Zoom her out. Look. Zoom her out. Take a look. So this thing did a giant move up for a long time. And it's not been without large pullbacks. This one right here. Copy that up here. About the same size. Copy that right here. We could have a little farther to go. Could have a little more downside there. Zoom it back up to the daily. See where we're at. And we could have a little further downside, about 126, possibly, if we just echo the prior pullbacks there. That was a little messy. Could be a little higher, possibly. Just rough work, just using prior pullbacks. So in the past, Hershey's has done a big pullback like that several times. Not really surprising. Does look like 1, 2, and a 3. So let's see proportionally for the first move down, the retrace, which wasn't very big. The next move down kind of puts us in that same vicinity. So there's some confluence of different methods that kind of line up in this same vicinity right here. So while that possibly potentially could be done, it may see one more dip into this area before we actually reverse it, get back above the roadmap line and back test and then go higher. And it may never do that. And that's the other alternative, is that Hershey's is permanently broken and it never actually turns around. But this has been a big hurt on Hershey's, has been cocoa prices, and they're coming off their high a little bit. So if this actually, it did make a higher high. If we chop right here and break down lower, Hershey's probably in a good spot again. All right, TTD. And nothing's changed there. Resistance up here at 130, target 147. And if we turn down for a third leg, first move down, retrace, could be down to 100 area on supports. LAB. Dang. Typed it out of order. Computer says no. It's cool. There we go. So sitting on supports. There was the high right there. There's the low right there. High right there. Low right there. And downside target around 70. Netflix probably still has the upside target up there around 1100. 1050, 1100. Didn't quite touch it yet. Been rocking and rolling. Eventually, this is going to give up, though, and retrace. So be careful. It's been August since we touched the roadmap line, and we made some giant move up to the upside. Now, as crazy as these numbers seem, Netflix is not all that crazy. When you come over here and look, the price to sales is only 10. Price to earnings is only 44. We're not like PLTR that's like 66 and 400. So this thing has some room to go to the upside. We could double the price of Netflix and it still not be too crazy. The current set price to sales ratio is hanging right there, around 1157. It's not that bad. We go up to 20 pretty easily, 20, even slightly over 20. And once we start getting above 20, it's where we're in the danger zone. But we can hang out at 20 and it not be too crazy. So Netflix could still double from here and not be overly crazy, especially if they grew, they grew earnings and sales a bit. All right, EMU already did. TEM. Big chop, but 88 target right there. It's easy as that. FAS is a leverage ticker. Be careful. They don't always follow the patterns when they're leveraged. And 192 is the upside target, and the roadmap is support at 146-ish. NKE still hasn't made, well, look at that. Look at that. Finally did it. Well, that might be done. Wow. I've been looking for that level for a year, maybe longer than a year. I don't even remember. Anybody remember how long I've been saying that Nike was going down to like 68-ish? Holy moly. I've pulled this target over for a while. Golly, maybe it's like 2 years I've been looking for that. Sometimes I get lucky. I didn't trade it because, time frame, right? Like, who could have made money on that? The drop took forever. Took forever. That might be done. There's the upside resistance. If we can get through it, we can start looking to the upside. Got gap down after gap down to deal with, but finally hit what I might have considered to be a long-term support level. Wow. Really nice. In case you don't know where that came from at all, back to the same pattern. First move down, retrace. And this was not on the log mode, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that wasn't the right one. I'm trying to remember where that level came from. It's too long ago that I drew it. I was off of that. It's right there. Yep. That big move up, that retrace to 618. We hold it, turn and burn. That's where it came from. Now, if it doesn't hold, if we break on down through 68, well, it's doing something else, some other pattern. There's potential first move down, like I had a second ago, first move down, retrace. Next move down could take us on down to 61 potentially. Maybe down to 49. That'd be rough. Could come down in this area. All right. AMZN. That's a nasty chart in a downtrend channel. I wouldn't really expect it to do anything else. Just shopping the channel. Baba has upside potential. Not far away. 125. Climbing pretty good clip here. I see upside potential. Right in that area, right there. Pins. Pins. Oh my goodness. Come on. Sometimes you just have to hit enter. All right. Instead of hitting backspace, I'd just hit enter and type it again. Pins is just floating down the middle of nowhere. If we can break higher, we can go up. If we come back down, break below the roadmap line, probably go on down lower. This has a measured bounce set up where we moved up. We retraced to 618. If we can get continuation, it's going to be up here. It's probably going to be months and months, probably maybe even years from now. 26, 27, 28 potentially. I mean, look, it took from 22 up to mid 24 to get here. So like 2.5 years. Quick retrace, realign. Could easily take 2 to 3 times longer. Could take 5 years to do this next move and get up in here. So time is the hardest part of all this stuff. And it could fail at any point, like Bud did for me. Veil, possibly working on, that's the low, has resistance right here at the roadmap line. Resistance right there, and we'll see what we can do. I'm not sure it's done yet. We've done these big dips and retraces before and got extensions lower. So if we do that again, can result in a single-digit price. Ugh, nasty. I don't know if I would chase anything that looks like that right now. Just not overly awesome looking. Crocs, well, it's right down to the target zone. Could still go lower. Anybody thought it was crazy when I said it was going to do that back in September. There you go. What we got there. Might go on down to 80. Home Depot. Sitting right at the 618. That's already fired off the entry long. 447 is the upside potential. About a 73% likelihood. Profit factor is not super strong. It's on 37 trades, so statistically significant. And it takes 64 bars on average to get there, which would mean the average trade would last us out for 90 days, out to late April. And that could just be the average, could tell us 2 times the average, which would take us out 120 days-ish, right in there. About 6 months, so late July. It could take 3 times the average, which, 64 bars times 3 would be 180. So take that on out, which would be nearly 270 days, calendar days. So early October potential. If it's just going to be super slow, we'll see what happens. It does have a high probability trade for going higher. It's just, how long is it going to take? I don't know. That's the difficult part. Time is always the hardest question. And that doesn't look like it's overly committed to going higher at the moment. Theme. And next resistance right up there. We're on that 350 area. Right there. Found resistance going higher. Found resistance coming lower. I expect to find some resistance again if we pop up in that 350 area. MSTR, probably coming down for the roadmap line. Hate to say it, with crypto just looking as funky as it does. I just have this feeling we're going to retrace down to the roadmap line. Got this feeling that we're going to get this big flush out tomorrow on CPI. Can't shake it. Maybe it doesn't happen, but that's a first move down, 3-wave retrace, and next move down. Then possibly turn and burn, possibly. Hopefully it's not just the midpoint of a continuation lower. MSTR is that one. I don't know why I typed it again. That was goofy and froze up. Cool. Cool. Cool parts. Gosh, love it, man. What the heck? Yeah, it totally froze that up. Won't do anything. Cool. Awesome. Gosh darn it. There he goes. It was like, no, please don't kill me. It's really laggy. I'm going to kill it anyway. Let's let that memory clear up a second and relaunch. Restore. Probably cleared all the drawings I did. Oh well. Ooh. Hood upside 60 and 70. There's a $60 target and then a $70 target. Possibly as crazy as 85. All-time high. We'll see what happens. Not really anything to offer because it hadn't done any pullbacks. It's just moved up and up and up and up off the last pullback back here in July. Just up. It's going to run out of steam some point up here. I may sell my position if we hit the 60 level. I've had shares since 40 over here. Rode them all the way down. Selling calls along the way. Rode them all the way up so far. I might sell out at 60. That just might be what I do. HPI. Back to the roadmap line. There's the high, there's the low. Resistance right here. If we get through, there's the upside. If we don't, downside. Cool. CULP. Well, that's some shabby stuff. That's not been going anywhere for a while. Yeah, I wouldn't count on that doing anything. SMCI. Resistance at the roadmap line right there. As long as we hold that area, potential to go down lower. If we can break up through it, potential resistance on up here, and then we could talk about higher levels. But right now, I wouldn't expect much more than 50. That is a big gap down too. Yeah, we got up to it and rejected strongly. If we get up there and completely fill that gap down from these prior highs over here, I would expect another negative reaction. People were buying there. They got caught. Sold out here. Come up again. May sell again. Kind of the nature of the beast on gap downs. I missed the U. And back to the roadmap line would be what I expect. LMT to the downside. It's to the downside, all right. Potential 5 down. Where's the bottom? That's not very clear at the moment. Potential for it to get a little further down to 427 and maybe bounce. I would expect a major resistance right there. If it did bounce from there and then further down. It's kind of been in a grind here a little bit. Yeah, 427. It's going to be a fair support right there. 447, 427. Somewhere in that neighborhood. Looks like 4. I guess post market's 448. Yeah. Doesn't have a lot of downside potential, really. Now, if it breaks below that, who knows where we're going. Could be a big down. All right, BP, British Petroleum, broke above the roadmap line, finally. Clear this baby up. That high, that low. We've got resistance coming up right up here. If we get above it, set the stage for 43. Woo, big mover. Big mover, big mover. Costco. Dang. Possibly up to 1150. I mean, that's my EWAG right there. My best wild @ dollar sign guess. And maybe find a little resistance at, well, it's 1080, but at 1150 area, it's my best guess. AMD, still hunting for 95. As my ideal downside. Then I may buy a position. We're in the target zone. Just ideally, I want it to go down in this 95 area. I just prefer that for my personal sanity of getting long and expecting a move higher. We have touched the box that I've had on here for a year plus. So I'm ready for this to bounce, but it would look best if we did a little bit further flush down in that 95 area. STX. I got nothing clear here. That's very overlapping. Been sideways for months and months, almost a year. I don't feel very strongly about it doing anything for this level. It's a lower high, higher low. I just stuck in a pattern that could take it sideways for, could just chop in this range, and it could do that for indefinitely at this point. FU, JHY, JHY, Subaru. Yeah. That doesn't look like a chart that I'm going to mess with. I wouldn't mess with that chart. There's so many places you can find opportunity in the market, and this is not one that I would say that looks like banging opportunity right there that I want to put my money at risk in. No, not for me. Sorry, Colleen. INTC. And another one of those that does not look like banging opportunity. Resistance coming down. Downside pressure, and we could easily see 15, and we could easily go out of business. Next time, we'll get some next levels here. 15, and then down at 10. 11. Resistance right up there at 24 right now. Big gap down. Yeah. I just don't see any technical chart reason why this would turn here yet. Looks like it wants to make a lower low than we made back in 2008. That's what it looks like to me. All right. SMR started with warrants and covered them. Now long-term hold. How long to hold? You're on your own, my man. What part of trading advice do you not get? If you desire personal trading advice, which you just asked a very personal trading advice question, how long do I hold? You need to hire and consult a financial advisor to tell you how long to hold. SMR. That right there is a downtrend with a downside potential. That high, that low, that high, lower high, potential to come down here in the $12 area. Does it have to? No, doesn't have to. The downtrend high so far, though. And MLTX. And we were down below 60 people on the stream now, so I'll probably put a little expedience on here and speed it up. This is under the roadmap line. Sideways chop. Been sideways for a long time. That's why I have this giant sideways arrow. I just expect more of this sideways chop to continue as this moves forward. And Elf Beauty is probably going lower. Maybe it made a bottom. I would expect the target back down here at 27 at this point. One way or another. Amazon. Dang. And dang. 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 Cannot type the right letter in the right order. Dang, dang, dang. So Amazon pulled back on earnings last week, like I thought we might. If we don't break back higher and hold this breakout level from back here in December, roadmap line would be where I expect. And if we don't hold the roadmap line, a bigger 618 retrace of the entire move up off the low would be what I expect, and that puts us down here. Somewhere in this vicinity. Yeah. That's Amazon in a nutshell. All right, SYZ. Lower highs. Messing with the roadmap line. Low price stuff. Not very reliable. Be careful. That may take another spill. Move down. Retrace. Another move down. Could take it back down to 7. NEM. And be careful. We're well below the 618 level. Right there. Resistance at 50. I jumped off of my big position because I don't trust this right now with this price action and the way gold just hit the upside target. And this is way lagging. SOL USD. Solana. Sit on the roadmap line, not being bullish or bearish. No indication it's doing anything. It's been there, been there, been there. Just waiting on crypto, probably. This could turn bullish again if crypto turns bullish, but right now, looks like we're just going to wait on crypto. Wait on Bitcoin, mainly. EQT, upside, 56, possibly 61. DDOG, Datadog. Looks like it wants to go for the roadmap line. Resistance up here at 155. US Steel, sideways choppy nasty. Are they going to get a buyout deal? I don't know. If they don't get a buyout deal, they may just go out of business. That looks like a nasty chart. I would not put my money at risk on that sideways choppy gappy mess of a chart right there. RITM, Rhythm Capital. High, low, upper end, potential to go up to 12, which it's still in the $10 ballpark, so maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. EXPE, resistance at 199, already there. Roblox, RKL, oh, Rocket Lab. We're sitting at a resistance point. There's been no pullbacks, nothing. This was the lowest low. That's the highest high. One big move up. Doesn't leave anything to project off of. Just absolute nothing. So pullback would be the most likely. How far? A natural pullback would be 50 to 618, right down in this vicinity. Could stop at the roadmap line. That's another good one to go visit. So there's two potential pullback zones and upside. I couldn't tell you. Like, there's nothing to project off of. None of this stuff to the left of this lowest low matters. And none of this price action over here tells us anything because it was in a correction and made the lower low right there at 350. All right. Where's the halving Bitcoin? Bitcoin halving was last year. SWBI, that all played out already. SWBI. And right there, just kind of sitting. Kind of funny. Came all the way back down to 618. Can we bounce here? I don't know. We got gap down. We got a gap down. We got a gap down. Got some gap downs to deal with to go back higher again. Sitting at a potential resistance point, higher low. This is like, if you got into this because I said something about it, this is a years-long thing, like 10, maybe 20 years long pattern. Not like I even look at this. I don't even look at this once a week. I look at this probably a couple times a year since I got into it. Mostly I look at it when there's requests on here, but this is a long-term play for me. I'm looking for this continuation up here. How long is it going to take? Probably 2035, 2040. That's what I would expect. Got a few hundred shares. Just waiting. SMR. If it's not your kind of bag, it's not what you're into it for, then GTFO. Get out. SMR. Yeah, we've already gone through that one. Hood already did. Net. Up past the targets. Next target. Potential at the prior high. Around 222-ish. That's going quite exponential, so watch out for a negative reaction as we approach the prior high. 275 above that. AVGO. And for those of you left, give me a like, subscribe, thumbs up, interact with the video. AVGO, potential downside to the roadmap line. SFM, and potential down to the roadmap line. CRSP, and potential bottom. Ugh, that can keep going down. Maybe it's a potential bottom, but it just looks like it's going to keep doing this sideways choppy crap right there. And so far, rejected off the zone. So far, back to the roadmap line would be what I'd expect. Could go test the top of the range. And arm. Kind of chopping in here. Chopping. Failure to break out, failure to break down, lower highs. Roadmap line supports. These highs are resistance. Maybe it can get strength to go up to 210, or maybe it finally drops back and fills this gap down to this support zone down here I've talked about for like a year. We'll see. Not very interesting. It's just been sideways for a whole year. Just, relatively wide range, just hanging out, 50-point range. And OIS. Again, just kind of choppy sideways right on the roadmap line. Possible we bounce and go higher, maybe $6, which that's in the low price stuff. Be careful. Already did UPS, ASML, 600 target, AVAX, USD. That broke down. Probably gonna go lower low. That's what that looks like. $6 on the downside. Avalanche is pretty much cooked. Google. Looks like we're coming down for the roadmap line. Sol, USD. At the roadmap line, watch for it to break down. Like I said, it's holding the roadmap line. Already did so. And let's see. Let's see. There's this thing called crypto power plays for y'all that come and request cryptos. Like, I update these every week. MCD. Yeah, getting in the resistance zone. We gap down right there. If we can break through, 323 up there. And HWM. We sit at the resistance. Watch for the retrace. And saw XRP. I skipped, I think. XRP, USD. Watch for that to break down. We'll have his first move down, retrace. Setting up for a bigger drop here. 618 right there. Resistance. And we could get the bigger down. Back down to $1.30 area. Watch out on XRP. All right. Michael, your link was in the Crypto Power Plays update. And thanks for coming, everybody. I'll see you first thing in the morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. 9:15 tomorrow.